Hello. Good evening, everybody. Hi, Paul. I had some problems with the starting on the Restream, but I got it now. So no. I was streaming at several channels today. Actually, this is supposed to be LinkedIn Live, but I included everybody. So there are almost five channels going on, including the Wisdom. You know. So how are you, Paul? No, that's okay. That's okay. You can say as long as you want. Somebody came yesterday, this morning, Ryan Allen. He stayed the entire hour. So nobody else got the chance. That's okay. But during the discussion, we kind of talk about things with the intention of communicating to the larger audience. Not only the live people, but also this um, podcast like stream is heard by several people. So that's why it doesn't matter how many people, it's how much substantive discussion we have. That's, I think, that's what matters. So it's okay. So what I was going to talk about unconditional love that we all talk about as though it's a rarity, but in some cultures it is actually what goes on. People really do that all the time. That is something I brag about, how heartful people were way back in when I was growing up. I was born in 55, so 60s and 70s I was there, and beginning of 80s I came to this country. So I had good 2 decades of heartfulness in India. So I always talk about that. I'm sure I have seen a lot of heartfulness people here. The moment I landed here, I was received by my aunt, who is a German and who's always in America. But she was such a heartful person. She's pure love. The way she includes everybody, and the way she laughs, and the way she kind of treat them when they come to dinner. That was a very good thing for me because I didn't have that much culture shock for the first few months. But after that, I had to go to the hospital, I had to face the society, and then I kind of faced the real calculated, cognitive mind that comes through, right? But I think we can always go back to our roots and then see what that heartfulness mean and how do we. So, do you have any thoughts, Paul, on that? Mm. Mm. Yeah, we are going to present that, and then I'm sure a lot of people have moments or relationships where they have experienced this unconditional love, where they were accepted without any question, and they were kind of were included into their families and all that. This is relevant because more and more people are looking for that, and more people are trying to be that and give it to people too. In my club, the BA PAL, each letter stands for something. You know, L stands for loving. It's not asking for love, but being loving itself. There were examples that I saw. I'm going to present that, but that is the idea. Can you be the source of the love instead of you being the uh, asking for love? That kind of thing. Does that make sense to you, Paul? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. See, a lot of the people have animals, pets, dogs especially. I think they do receive that unconditional love from them. and that's why they appreciate it so much. Their dogs, But with the people also, what happens is all the personalities, traits that we see in people, I think that comes in between to be. You may be doing really lovey-dovey things, but then they turn back and they may do something that will really hurt you, or that will make you feel like, why did I do this to this person? The challenge is, how can we overcome that kind of situations where we are not dragged by the what I call things of the mind. That means mind is the one which assesses, mind is the one which analyzes, mind is the one which takes opinions, or uh, feels like I'm hurt, you have done these things, all that. So I was picking up on this from something I presented this morning. This was from one educationist and the seer. Is that like he doesn't want to be called a teacher, but he kind of challenges us with a lot of beautiful thoughts. And he was somebody non-violent, very loving person, but he doesn't say anything. He says, I just love you, whether you love me or not. I don't care if you don't love me, but I just love you anyway. you know, that was the statement. I put it in the post this morning in LinkedIn and some other place also. So there was some discussion about how could you be loving all the time when you don't receive it from anywhere. This thing about self love, really doing only loving ourselves, is really not the thing I'm talking about. I'm talking about how can you be really giving affection, or good feeling or friendship, without expecting anything. And that itself, that giving itself, is the reward. And people who experience that with somebody else giving, they are very happy. But my argument is, we're all like that. That's the point I'm trying to make. You know. So this particular gentleman, it seems his aura of love is around him, and he used to do this big crowds, and then he used to come and lecture them. Not much, but he just present the same argument all the time. Like, don't think too much, don't fill your heart with all these things of the mind, and then meditation means awareness. So he's very revolutionary in his thinking. A lot of people follow, and I didn't know him, even though he was born in my state in India. So because nobody really knew him that much, and then the people who read him also didn't understand him, I believe. But after I came to America, I was taken to one of his video presentations by my friend, and I saw him on the Chicago. And there's a building like a Oasis, they call it. It's on the lake, and they just they say Oasis because these kind of talks will not be available in Chicago except there. That's why they named it Oasis, right? I went there, I saw his talks, and ever since I was kind of took him in a big way, studied him. But the remarkable thing about him was, people who were very close proximity to him, without him saying "I love you," anything like that, they felt a strong wave of love. So that's what the report to them. And then later on, we went into that. What it was is, he doesn't keep any mind as we know it. He's only all giving, all embracing, all including people. So that kind of thing, even in his thoughts, he won't have any separation. He said, we are only on one earth, one humanity, and one energy. And he is truly, really symbolizes that. So there were a couple of stories I heard. One gentleman from Japan, Krishnamurti was traveling from Japan to San Francisco, but this man was coming from San Francisco to Japan. He gets off in Japan, and he sees Krishnamurti is going in this plane, so he goes, buys the return ticket, and then goes just to be with him in the plane. And he said, I have a strong wave of love engulfed me. He didn't even talk to him. So that was enough for me. So there were so many stories like that. So, but is that something we imagined or something that happening? Mainly, people who are engulfed in thinking about this or that, they will be like that all the time, right? They don't really uh, get out of thinking easily, But if you can understand what is the thinking doing to the human relationship, and you don't want to be really engulfed in that, and you want to be untangled from that kind of things of the mind, analysis, assessing, judgment, or blaming, or getting angry, all those things, if they were kind of it says uh, if you have to empty your mind of all these contents, then that will be really being in love and conveying that to the other people. See, that kind of uh, practice on a daily basis, looking at what is going on within you and without you, and how do you respond to the events, how do you respond to somebody's approach to you, or their own attitudes, all those things, what kind of reactions they are invoking in you, that kind of thing. If you observe, you can really understand a lot of things are unnecessary, and then you can really identify them, and by really looking at them, they seem to drop. Suppose you are fearful, if you are aware of fear, the fear drops. Like that, if you are having a judgment about somebody in your mind for no reason, like, oh, these people, how they are, oh, these people are sitting like this, or whatever, right? We form several opinions. But if you are aware of it and see the needlessness of that, and then really not go with it and then drop them, then your mind is itself is receptive of other people, and making them inclusive with you, that kind of thing, right? So I don't want to sound too esoteric on this, but basically, don't judge people right away. Don't have um kind of opinions about people, or uh, they say you can judge a book by its cover, like that, right? But we do that with the people all the time. So that may be something we can stop. Okay, so that is my point. If human beings can be emotionally more upfront, and the emotion also positive emotions, uplifting emotions, and uplifting thoughts, and they reflect in your speech, in your relations and all that, then you can feel this heartfulness I'm talking about, and you can really feel good about it. And also, you will be challenged so many times, but each time you are challenged, you will come back to your original position. And by nobody has to tell you, you yourself will observe all those judgments, conclusions, everything that you are making are just the thoughts. And maybe they are old, maybe they are coming up as a memory, rather than the person is right in front of you may have completely changed from what you have seen last time. So trying to meet people without any of the filters that we carry about them, I think that is easy if you are more of heart than of the mind. So I hope this makes sense to people. Anybody wants to come up, please come up and engage in your take on this, and that will be wonderful. You know. Okay. So that's my viewpoint, and I think it is very healthy for us to be like that. So, Paul, what do you think now? Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Mhm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. 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 Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Yes. Yeah. Let me let me let me yeah, let me introduce something that I think you will find interesting. Um, see, there is a what's called uh, incompatibility of our habitual thoughts or what they call cognitive tendencies, right? So when you see somebody, either chemically or you find them so attractive, they are beautiful people inside, whatever, you fall in love with your heart, right? And then what happens is you join together, you start to live together, and all that. Then all these small things come out, which are nothing but things of the mind. That's what I'm talking about. Our personalities, habits, egos, all those things come, and then also that feeling that we had kind of takes a back seat to these opinions and all this argumentation by the mind, by your continuous evaluation of the each person, right? So that incompatibility, because you may have some tendencies that you grew up with, your conditioning, your culture, and whatever you learned and all that, right? And those may come out without you knowing. Like, for example, you don't like certain kind of meat. Like one woman I know, she was telling me about the processed meat. She doesn't eat that, I believe. We have this daily Paul in Clinton, and that we go there. We have a vegetable sandwich, which is very nice. So, but all of our staff like the food there. So we used to go. They make your sandwich according to how you want it, right there in front of you. So I was bragging about it because my sandwich, my soup was very good. They have this broccoli cheese soup, which is very good. So I used to love that, and the sandwich too. So we used to go and take that and take the lunch break and come back to clinic. So this woman came to help us with the EMR. So she was just visiting us to helping us with that installation. So I took her there for the lunch. And the moment she saw the processed food, she said, "No, I'm not eating here. I don't eat processed food." So that is her habit. That's something, this one. But those kind of small things also sometimes become the nidus of argumentation, nidus of kind of separation a little bit, right? And I've seen a lot of my friends going through this incompatibility. They are hard. Always ask them, what did you feel when you first met? Why didn't you revive that all the time? And they used to say, no, no, all these thoughts, all these opinions, all these strong opinions, all these hurts come in between. So I cannot feel like what he is, what I used to feel before. But it's not that, yeah, that difficult you put those opinions and all that. See, that's what I think I grew up with. Maybe it's not there in India anymore too. They can be cut and then really quick with somebody, but at the same time they take it for granted. We're going to live forever. you know so the fights that I seen between my friends who are couples used to come to me for advice or guidance, because they are somehow always come to me, and then I used to see that very clearly. If you really take those little arguments, little tidbits and all that, tips they call it, if they put it aside, if you really go to their heart and find out why they were, and then really say, that's okay, so not a big thing, I think things would be much easier. Don't you think so? Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Ah. Oh, this is very common too, because that emotional insecurity, if we have it, that will come out in any relationship. Even the most loving of your mother, father also, you may think like they don't honor my opinion, they don't really understand me, they are a different generation. I hear that all the time, right? But my thing is very simple. Why are you so dependent on their approval? You are grown up, right? You are now raised up on that. Why are you not secure within yourself? That's a question that people have to face that. And because we are kind of little bit insecure inside, sometimes somebody else comes and makes a little bit noise, and immediately we kind of go into the shell and try to protect ourselves and all. On the other hand, if you really are secure within yourself, because you are able to give that love and affection to anybody, and their simple things you can look at like a children's behavior and don't want to give too much of it, and then when you value relationship at that level, because you are not bothered about your own heart, you are worried about longevity of that relationship, right? People here say, oh, I have to put boundaries, I have to defend myself, I cannot let them walk all over me. I think that's all ego talking. That's and then that becomes a big deal in some people, because they invest so much in the ego preservation. The moment it gets hurt a little bit, and we get up, don't want to in the friendship or in the relationship. This is called samskara incompatibility in Sanskrit. Samskara means you see me, for example, and then you form an opinion about something I say, okay? And then you go and then you kind of, suppose you are kind of felt bad about something I said, and then you kind of want to hide that reaction because you don't want a scene or anything. But then you don't wash it off. You kind of unconsciously allow it to go to subconscious, and then repeatedly you do that, then that becomes an ingrained thought. That is the samskara definition. So people may have learned so many things in their own life, and they burst it out, or they something, they do something, behavior, or attitude, emotionally, whatever it is. Those are all, they don't really intend to do it. They just come up because they are in their subconscious. For example, somebody said something about a woman, for example, that woman, okay, So that woman feels hurt, and then she carries that in her own subconscious, and that comes through later on. Okay. Hi. Hey, Dr. Rao, how are you? I'm good. How are you? Oh, I can't complain. I'm doing very well. Okay, very good. I like your topic today, but then the question to you is, yeah, does unconditional love exist? Oh yeah, very much so. It is the real lifeblood for us. Even few people do that. We all survive on that. All right. The reason why I asked that, yeah, I feel like every single thing we do on this earth has some type of condition. It looks like it. Yeah, it looks like it. Because, for instance, I can sit here and say that I love my kids unconditionally. However, there are things that I will do for them because I want to feel good about it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, in other words, there is condition attached, even though it's not attached to them. There is a string attached because I might do something for somebody without expecting anything. Yeah. However, I expect that I feel good about it. Yeah. This is the dynamics with the parenting and the kids. You what happens is, if you think that the kids are yours and they are, coming through you, and you gave them all this, those are all become your conditions of, they have to respond in a way, you know. But as a mother, you kind of embrace them. If something little bit happens to them, immediately that comes out of you, embracing them and make sure they are protected, fight for them, and all that. That is unconditional love, deep buried, because your mind is so active about all the other things. You don't go to that place of heart unless something happens, and later on they also grow. They develop their own personality. They develop their own way of dealing with you. They may not. They may take you for granted. All those things play into the dynamics, right? The test is how much can you bring it out, that original unconditional love of a mom, just putting aside all these trivialities. Yeah, but how God is defined so many ways. Yeah. By so many people, and yeah, God is how you make it. God exists, yeah, in our minds and, yeah, how we conceive of, yeah, of it. So the thing is, for me, I used to think that God has unconditional love. But then I start to think deeper about it, and I don't think that is true, because there has to be condition. If the condition is not even external, it has to be internal. I would say God is unconditional love. Unconditional love is God. It's not that some external entity has uh, the love, but it is the quality of that, that people have, and but they can overcome so many things. I have seen major leaders doing that in the times when it is really very tough for them, uh, because that's what they made them great leaders, because they were not succumbing to the lower self, but to the higher self. They were able to do that with the higher self. That's why it opened for them. And then once the heart chakra opens, once that anahata chakra, that means heart, that opens up, and then the mind really subsides, and they have unalloyed love that comes not for anybody, but only on condition, but it is there just to be palpable to other people. You know. I see. Well, I know. I mean, I've been thinking about it. Yeah. I've been thinking about it, but something hasn't clicked, or yeah. I have not really gotten it because I mean, yeah. Me being alive. Yes. There's a condition attached to it because I'm alive and doing Yeah. Yeah. See, there's so much there is so much hurt, there is so much injustice, not to equanimity, and so much kind of hypocrisy about these things go on, and people also are taken advantage of. That's why they feel like we don't want to be doormat when somebody wants to walk all those defenses are there. But I'm talking about unconditional energy that can be very, very nourishing to people. Even one person has it, then it can touch the people around. Okay, so main thing is this. Listen to this argument ancients made. They said hridaya means center of everything. Hridaya means heart. In Sanskrit, hridaya means heart. That is the center of everything, and from that, this mind comes up, because thoughts and all those is the mind, right? They do come up. So when you choose the infant and child, they don't have this mind come up, this sense of ego or me and all that, right? We need that to survive, to make way and all that, but we don't have to identify with that thought construct model, you know, and we forget where we came from, and we embrace this thought construct, personality, ego that has seen so much of injustice, lack of all those things are there. But if you are really brought in by people who are heartful and they don't really care about all these things, that rubs on you, and you can also take it out and give it to people, because you can behave whatever you want, but I'm going to be in this energy, and that means you are in your original heart. That is what I'm talking about, heartfulness. It's not that I don't have the mind that I'm used for smart decisions and all that, but I don't want that thinking faculty as a factor of division between people. See, we are raised to be that and this, right? The white gentleman, black or brown, or this country, that country, or this my religion, that religion. So we are given so many tools to divide ourselves. The protectiveness, maybe my ratio will go bad, then what I'm going to do. All those things are things of the mind, and they look like they are very important, but then people are lacking the love and really can't find that within themselves. But it is there and it comes through when somebody is in trouble or something, somebody has really had problems in life. People try to show them real sympathy like that, right? In India, for example, I saw this middle class people. They are very supportive of each other because they don't have much to really live on and all that, right? But they are very happy. They don't have this many psychological problems compared to the upper classes in India. They have money, they have this, but then they have this big, basically, their heads are swollen, hearts have shrunken. What I'm saying, isn't it true? Yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, but if you reverse that, if you expand this heart, then you say that's okay. Let him go. Uh, you remember I will always tell Nelson Mandela's story. Nelson Mandela, how he was very forgiving to his jail guard who came, after he became a president. He was having dinner, and he motioned to this man standing way away, and he doesn't respond. Then he sends his soldiers to bring him to him. Right? They go and ask him, "The president is calling you. Come." And this man comes, and uh, and then stays with Nelson Mandela. Nelson asked him, sit down and have meal with me. And he has the meal, and afterwards he walks away. Then the guards ask him, why is he shivering like that when he's eating meal with you? And the Nasser Manda tells him, he used to be my guard in the cell, and he used to abuse me like anything. So he thought I'm going to um, reciprocate to him, and I'm going to hurt him because of my power. But I have no enmity because I want to keep my interior clean. That's why I kind of forgave him long time ago. So I don't carry. But actually, he did very awful things to him. He used to come behind him when he's having meal and used to urinate on Nelson Mandela. So he has overcome all that abuse and then kept his mind very, very loving. Okay. Hi, Dominic. How are you?
Hi, Dr. Rob. I'm doing well.
Yeah.
It's good to hear you again and speak with you again.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, so I've heard some of the conversation, and as you might recall, this topic of unconditional love does have my interest.
Yeah.
And I've heard the last two guests speak on it, and one thing that comes up for me is just like perhaps a finer distinction of things. I think there's a difference between knowing something exists, or believing something exists, and actually experiencing it.
Yeah, exactly. Totally different. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. So I think when it comes to we're embodied. We go from these spiritual high vibrational beings to embodied, and so things are denser here.
Yeah.
And they're not as high vibration, say, most of the time.
Yeah.
And I don't say that's like it's a good thing or it's a bad thing. It's just more like it's more like a recognition of
it's unfortunate that things are like that, though. That's it.
Yeah. And I heard some talkers talk about wanting unconditional love, or seeking it out, or not sure that they've experienced it. And I look at more of, and I think this might be freeing to people. I'd love to hear your thoughts. It's like it's yes, it exists.
Yeah, that is no, that is the idea why I'm doing this room. It's not to judge people who don't have unconditional love, but accepting them in that, understanding why they are like that, and I'm presenting basically don't increase your heads and shrink your hearts. Expand your heart and let your head go. And then that means don't be egotistical, don't be opinionated, don't be taking some filters and judging people like that. Just having this energy where we are all in one energy and accept people as they are, and really show them this energy which is healing to you and to the other person too. That's all.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with that, and I would add that it's like in terms of I think expectations.
Yeah.
Say for what you will experience.
Yeah.
Because we a lot of times we rate ourselves too highly on what we do, and maybe others too lowly on what they do, and I think when it comes to this unconditional love piece.
You see, if your part is full, you don't ask anybody to fill it. Like that. If the loving nature is there within you and you are filled with all that one, you don't ask for it. That is what I've seen with people. That's what I've understood. That have meant to them. There was like a don't even have to talk to them. Even if you are walking with them in silence, if you can feel the vibe, you can see that that is there. There's no thread of um, judgment or conclusions about you. So that acceptance is total. Then you also feel that, but then there's a way to go towards that heart center and open it up. And then the more you open it up, the more nourishing it is for you and for everybody around. But it has to be experienced, it has to be tested in trying circumstances. The more you do that, that's much easier afterwards.
So hearing what you say, is it fair to say, or would it be reasonable to say, so let's say in relationship, you know, you have
Yeah.
your so-called significant other or partner.
Yeah.
The key isn't to like focus on the love or quality of love you're receiving. The key is more to focus on figuring out how to get yourself
Yeah.
into as deeply a loving state as
Exact, exact. That's what I say in my BA PAL. In the last L, PAL, L is for loving. I put it there for a purpose because, um, for example, somebody came the other day to be with us. He was having a retreat with me, and he saw my wife's attention to the guests and doing everything and all that. He said she is the personification of love, all the time giving, not asking anything in return.
Yeah.
That is not a something I made her do or anything. She's like that, and then that rubs on everybody too.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd say I personally I have experienced, I think, you know, receiving love
Yeah.
From people, but I must say I'm okay
Mm.
with whatever comes along. It's like, you know, it is what it is, and I think, you know, your words, like, you know, I don't have to
Yeah.
judge it. Like I'm
You don't have.
experiencing what I'm experiencing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but the only thing is, if it is there, and some people may put their defenses down and look it up, then say, yeah, this kind of exists right in front of us, and then light in me. See, the whole thing is, Dominic, for me, turning inward and finding who you are makes a lot of difference, right? Then the mind that's going out and judging people or blaming people or arguing against all those things, that is silent when you turn inward and look at the beautiful things that can happen within you, and they are very nourishing to you, and in turn they come out. Obviously they will be good things for other people, the life and the planet, everything.
Yeah, I really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
I have a question. So, you know, we hear we're all one, we're all connected. So
Yeah.
If we truly get to know ourselves,
Yes.
like, what do we discover? Is it possibly that we actually
No, we have this sensation. We think we are this body, or we are the conglomeration of these multiple thoughts and feelings that are going. But if you look at it, they are all temporary. That life energy, that being that we're talking about, that is not temporary. That is continuing life after life. That's the thing. Once you discover that kind of embodiment of that being, everything changes, because then the body and the mind are my tools. They are not me. I don't want to identify with them. I have the body, I have the mind. They don't have me. They are my tools. So everything changes because you are not afraid of the death. You are not afraid of what is going on in your mind. You can watch it. You can be, because basically all the thoughts are also, we are aware of it. That means we are having thoughts, and that we are aware of it. That awareness is the one which really throws light on our thoughts. So what is happening with the modern, not just west, east, anybody, but modern people are, we are so much into the body and mind, and we don't know there is something else behind all the time. You
So,
see.
you know, the question, you know, before my time runs out, this deepening into love, like,
Yeah.
how does one best do that? Is it a meditation on the heart chakra, or is there some other more
No,
way of this?
not meditation on the some physical place, but what is happening within you and outside you. What are your reactions? And if you really take a back seat without impulsively reacting to anything, then you will see, okay, this is something happened. So what's the big deal? In a culturally, for example, I'm eat my Indian food with hands. right? And if I go out, I will eat something with a fork according to the food that was served, right? Then what happens? They may think like, oh, look at him, he's eating with his fingers. But that's the Indian food. You eat best like that. So if you take an opinion on that, and then you say something like that, or I take an opinion on whatever how you are eating, it's a kind of trivial, right? So you got to appreciate the triviality of our mind and the thought. That is where I think Rene Descartes, that French philosopher, he is a good guy, but he stopped saying, I think, therefore I am. Now people conclude he should have said, I am conscious, therefore I am. Then he would have been beyond the body mind complex into his conscious being. And then you can be aware of the own filters that you are having, or own opinions you are having, all that, that is not really important, right? That's what happens. Okay. So I think that happened to my stream here. So let me correct that. Yeah. Okay, there it is. I thought I lost the stream on the LinkedIn and all that, but it's not, because the screen is so, nobody touched it. It kind of shut off that. Hi, Paul. So what do you think so far?
I think this is really good, and I do have just one question, and
Yeah.
I'll log back out and let other people pop up.
Yeah.
But my question is this: would you say that what you were saying is could be worded in a way that, so my situation is, if somebody pushes, like mentally,
Yeah.
verbally pushes, my instant reaction is to push back.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, if someone is belittling my opinion,
Yeah.
my instant reaction is to react immediately.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I know that's wrong. But here's my question: is this all possibly connected to something like unforgiveness, or say judgmentalness, like the filters you were talking about?
Yeah.
Basically, I think if I understand you correct, is you've got this set of rules in your head that you're judging everything you're seeing and hearing by.
Exactly.
And because you don't let go of those,
Exactly.
you end up with a problem.
Exactly. See the things that you used, the worded, don't have the words, have the feelings. That's where this thought dominance has done to us, modern people. We always think first, react with thinking, but we don't put that aside like this is a movement of thought that's happening, but I'm not that. I'm this human being beyond, who has the kindness, who has tolerance, who can understand, who can give some room to other people and all that. That doesn't take precedence, because we think all the time and we think that is ours. That is where the Rene Descartes mistake was made, and the entire Western civilization gone after thinking only. That is producing so many problems. you know. So what you do is be aware of that you are thinking like that. This all thinking. They may say something, but who is that reacting? Who is that getting offended? Who is that trying to defend? All your thought construct, ego and personality. They come and they change also as you go along. You change a lot, right? Like I'm me and you are talking about. We are talking about without blaming anybody. What is the human condition? What are the good things that are hidden? How can we bring them out? We are not judging anybody. If somebody is conditional love, we are not judging them. We are just observing a human interaction phenomena, whereby you understand this is unconditional love, this is conditional love. We don't have to be conditional love and then really suffer from that, but we can be overcome some of these trivialities, filters and all that, and also observe who is that. This is where the problem, Paul. We are kind of taken away by the thinking that we develop over the years, and it becomes happen even before you know it. There is a one thought, and one thought leads to second thought, that leads to third thought, but they happen so fast we think everything is happening very naturally. But meditation, other things make you slow it down. See your own reactions. You don't have to judgmental about it. You just see the structure, and then that kind of calms you down.
Awesome. All right. That makes sense. Thank you for your answer, and I will leave
Let
that
me
one
tell you,
question
let me
unanswered.
learn something else before you go. There was a meeting that happened. They were talking about women's liberation and women's rights, right? This woman gets up. She is very righteously indignant. Obviously, there's so much atrocities done to women, and they were not given the rights. Even now, this happening, right? But this was in 70s, I think. So this woman raises up, and then she just speaks it so uh, vehemently, articulately, but with a lot of passion. There is anger in her tone and all that, which is all these things justified. Everybody really felt uncomfortable that the way she was talking about it and all that. Their blood pressure also gone up. Then Dalai Lama was also in the same meeting. It actually happened, and he gets up, he sells the same things that were happening much more broadly for the women, all the injustices, everything. But he doesn't have a trace of anger. He has what they call karuna, kindness, compassion, right? So he was talking about it. But at the end of that, everybody quieted down and they felt very good. That's the power of this love that we have within that can come out. See, the other person is judgmental, even though she is right. People were agitated, but this man was showing the what exactly she talked the points he talked, but then he has solutions also, and also he himself showed that he is going to rise against the injustice for the women, but he's not going to hate the men. He's going to change them through this loving energy. I hope that makes sense to you, Paul.
Yeah, and it does. And the name that came to mind when you said that story was Dr. Martin Luther King as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sure.
He showed that love and
Yeah.
that peacefulness.
Yes, and he knew. He said, "I may not be there with you when you go beyond the mountain. I may not be there with you." He know that they will kill him, but he has no hatred for them.
Right.
Yeah, sure. That's directly from Gandhi. Gandhi is a follower of Gandhi, right? Gandhi also same philosophy too. He said, "Britishers are my brother. I'm not going to hate them, but I'm not going to keep quiet. I'm going to rise to really protest the injustice that are doing, but I won't allow the hate and anger in my heart." And that is a non-violent movement. But later on, these Hindus and Muslims that don't have heart in love in their heart, they allowed their mind to explode and they killed each other. Yeah.
And it's kind of tough because
Yeah.
you think about people who have done this,
Yes.
and they've ended up with a situation like Dr. Martin Luther King. And
I look at like this. I look.
History
Yeah.
with
But
Jesus.
even Jesus also. Yeah.
Being a Christian thing,
Yeah.
a historical figure.
Yeah.
He was loving. He was always loving, and he still got nailed to the cross.
Oh yeah.
And he still loved even on the cross.
He's full of love. That's it. You know what he said? There's a movie made in my language. I tell people all the time. The title of the movie is the one who is the personification of kindness. Karuna Mayudu. Karuna means kindness. So he's like that, right? In that movie, there was a Telugu dialogue which says like this: "To love as a human being is my religion." From Christ, they made the dialogue that impressed me so much. I don't remember anything else from the movie, but that particular dialogue I always remember and I always repeat to other people. He was saying that, right? To love as a human being is my religion.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, I remember that all the time. I quote it also. Christ said this, So
Well, thank you, doctor. I'm gonna stay here and listen.
sure, sure. So I think we're almost 5 minutes away to close. Let's see, somebody else wants to come up. Oh, Abby. So,
Oh,
yeah, Abby, go ahead.
I had a call, so I dropped off. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. But yeah, I mean, um, so I mean, how would you define love?
Well, I gave this definition to my son, when he was very young, like a 12-year-old something. Uh, he was a very popular kid, and a lot of younger girls want to be his friends and all that. And I wanted to introduce him to the heartfulness that I always talk about. And I told him to be affectionate to somebody, enormous affection within your heart, without expecting anything in return. And that means you are not treating ladies as a piece of meat, but human beings who are women who are full of affection and love. That's what I saw with the women I interacted in India. My mother's sisters, my sisters, and my brother's wife, they all treated us like I'm their son. I'm very, very youngest. But then that heartfulness was not lectured. Nobody told me these things because I kind of went into these things because I'm a doctor, and also I'm interested in the suffering that we all go through. How can we do that? Then I studied Buddha, I studied Krishnamurti, I did Ramana Maharshi, Jesus, all sorts of religions, right? When you look at all that Sufis or any number of different people, this kind of awareness of what is the human potential to be raising and being loving is there, you know and they showed us with their lives, you see. The only thing is we kind of don't pay attention, because one thing different for me is I took time to study these things, to understand these things, because I don't know, I was 8 years old, Abby. I read this, there's a illustrated color book, comic book, like it's called Chandamama, that means moon. Chandamama means moon. They wrote different stories there that are very, very fascinating. All the kings, all these things, right? But they also published one big book, Chandamama title also, but then life story of Buddha. You know, what struck me most was they said he really felt what is suffering because he was distanced from that by his son, by his dad, because he doesn't want him to become a monk, right? So he hides all the suffering from him, you know. So he was indulging in all the pleasures of the palace. But suddenly he goes out and sees the suffering, and immediately he doesn't retreat back to his luxuries. He leaves palace and goes and finds the solutions for the suffering from himself for the humanity. And I have seen people like that. J. Krishnamurti was like that. Ramana Maharshi was like that. They don't have any life like we do. They don't have a wife or family or whatever. But then they have contributed so much to relieve the suffering, because they in themselves are very secure and loving, and they have this enormous affection and also concern for the human beings. I picked up from them, and that is a wonderful quality. I think if we emulate that.
That is something I strive to become.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So
Now,
for me,
I will go a further step, Abby. I would say you don't have to become. It's already there. You just have to, yeah, you just have to, yeah, that's it, be aware. See, all this thinking kind of clouds it over, kind of kind of hides it, and then we make the error of thinking that we are the thinking, we are the body, and all that. Once you see that and take away the error, take away the cloud and all that, then it is there. It's called swaprakasha. That means self luminous. So that comes out once you understand these mechanics, and then once you really observe how I'm thinking, what I'm thinking, is this thinking is real, is this thinking is something, and then the thinking subsides and your heart comes out.
So, would you say somebody that says that
Mhm.
I have unconditional like for humans?
Oh yeah, sure.
And then, so unconditional likeness,
Yeah.
like, and then unconditional love.
Yeah.
Would they be on the same spectrum?
Yeah, you described rightly. It could be liking to begin with, and then later on you learn to deal with giving that energy positively, and that becomes the love. Another thing, another way to define this is, suppose we are all one energy and there is no separate self. What did Jesus say? Treat your neighbor as though he is you. Mm-hmm. Now, physics saying we are all in one energy, and ancient philosophy said all the time, Ekam Sat. Ekam Sat means only one existence, and we are all in that one existence only. Einstein said that. So they all said that, they all discovered that. But the thing is, this is not about telling somebody and then they learn it. It's about realizing by yourself. That's the difficulty.
Yeah. There's always room for improvement. So I guess hope to be able to discover that part,
Yes.
of that unconditional love.
Yes.
I know it's probably not too far fetched. It's within us.
Yes.
But in this day and age, yeah, that's all I can say.
That's why it's important.
Anybody, every human being I like.
Yeah.
But it's not everybody I love.
Yeah. You're honest, Abby.
Because
That's good.
My body sometimes will react before my soul.
Yeah. That's true, because psychosomatic reactions are very common, because whatever resistance, whatever thing you do, you shrink the into the body, all the tension is there. That's why opening the heart releases a lot of problems for you in the body, in the body. You know, one of the things I tell people, just review all your reactions of the day. Don't sleep on them. And just to sit, take some time. I don't think people do that, but if they do, at the end of the day, put everything aside. Don't talk to anybody on the take 10 minutes and review the day, the meetings, the interaction that you had with different things, and what happened to you in your own reactions. Review them, and if they're trivial, let them go. If there's something important, write them on paper. But for the night, don't have any reactions in your mind. Have a clean mirror.
Yeah.
And that's a very good exercise you can do every day.
Yeah. I remember you said the last time we were talking, you said something about going to the center of your mind.
Yeah.
And that has stuck with me. So. Yeah. Well, anyways, Dr. Rao, thank you so much for
sure. It's a pleasure having you here.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, all the time you are very honest and very open. That's good.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll talk soon, okay?
Sure. Okay. I think we are beyond the 1 hour also for a minute. So I'll just give a couple of minutes if anybody wants to have any real question or doubt or anything. Otherwise, I'll be closing this 1 hour session that we've already planned. And I'll be seeing again tomorrow morning. We'll be continuing on the concentration. This morning, I was only able to say half of what I wanted to say. So I'm going to continue that. What is in your cup? Cup being concentration, unselfish activity, and purpose of life. So we are still at the concentration. We'll do this cup thing a few more days. Okay. Thank you very much for joining me, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow. Bye.